The first time I sat down behind a drum kit was the first time I fell in love. I was 11 years old, and I knew immediately that playing drums was what I wanted to do. It was physical and loud, and I wanted to be heard, but I didn't know how to speak up. And I wanted to be a boy. Boys got to be loud and aggressive. My parents bought me a drum kit and were really supportive. Every day after school, I'd come home and I'd put on these enormous headphones and I'd slide on a record and I'd play along to it, and I'd imagine I was in a rock band playing in front of thousands of people. But I never thought that that would come true because girls didn't become drummers in rock bands, especially girls from small rural towns in Washington. In school, I was the only female drummer in the marching band, but my teacher would only give me the extra percussion parts like the woodblock or the triangle. The boys got to play the drums. Moving on into high school, I played drums in the jazz band. And people would always say, "You're a really good drummer for a girl." And at 14, I discovered punk rock. And there I felt I fit in. The music was different. It was loud and angry and faster. And that's how I felt. As a kid, playing drums helped me with my anger and my anxiety, which I had a lot of, about school or my parents or being gay. I put it all into the drums. Playing drums put me into my body and made it feel okay to be there. As I grew up, I started playing drums in bands in Seattle. And this is the beginning of the 1990s, and Seattle was about to become the biggest music city in the world. Major labels were signing bands like crazy because of the success of Nirvana. In 1992, I joined a band called Hole. We signed a record deal and we started writing our first record. And in those rehearsals, I felt really confident, and I wanted to show the world what I could do as a drummer. Not a girl drummer, but a drummer. Also, our band had a lot to prove. Our singer was married to Kurt Cobain, and we wanted to show the world that it wasn't Kurt Cobain's wife's novelty act. We hadn't played any huge shows, just a few small club shows in the UK and Paris, and we were ending this run at an enormous outdoor music festival in the English countryside, and we were scheduled to play on the main stage. I'd only played in front of about 1,000 people, and this was 70,000. A drummer's job is to keep everything together. We're the anchor. It's an immense amount of power and responsibility. The walk from the dressing room to the main stage was 2 minutes. That felt like 2 hours. I took deep breaths, and when we were announced, I walked out onto the stage and looked at a sea of 70,000 expectant faces. And I sat down at my drums full of self-doubt, and I was terrified. I'm gonna mess this up. I'm not good enough. And my drums felt different and foreign. My heart was beating fast, and my shoulders were tight, and I kept my head down, and I counted off the first song. And I felt stiff and disconnected, mechanical. And then at about 5 songs in, I went into my mind back to my bedroom when I was growing up, when it was just me and my drums, when my day-to-day thoughts would disappear, head and my body would connect, and then it kicked in, my confidence. And I looked up and I saw that sea of people jumping to the beat of my kick drum. My right foot was moving a sea of people. And in that moment, I found my power. And what I'd always imagined as a kid was real. I was that drummer in that rock band. And I didn't look down again. Drumming really was my first true love. And it still is.